Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jacksonville Beach. It's a rainy day outside, but I'm in here helping you learn to read. And so let's do the next First Myth storybook. Read it with Grandpa story, and it's called The Golden Touch. Usually when you see it, it's called King Midas and the Golden Touch, because that's who it's about, a guy named King Midas. So, what's our agenda? Like every time, we're going to do spelling, and we're going to do the meanings of the spelling words. Now, these are all simple words that, although you know all of them, and you're the one right now who's at the age where this is appropriate for you to be doing this. What I want you to do is I want you to be, whenever you try to read something, I want you to always try to understand what all the words mean. Because if you don't know what they mean, you're not going to understand a lot of the story. And what we do as human beings is we fill in the blanks. We go, yeah, I think this word means this. And if it doesn't, then you don't know what it means. So I'll give you an example. There was a word that I didn't know the real meaning of for my whole life until I recently looked it up for my word of the day. And that's curmudgeon. I thought a curmudgeon was a cranky but lovable guy. And it's not. So you want to know the meaning, so I want you to get used to doing that right from the beginning. Learning how to spell correctly and learning what the words mean. Then we're going to find the word in the story, and we're going to read through it with me reading. And you just kind of going along and trying to figure out some of the words as I'm saying them. I go kind of slow. And then you read it. Now, doing the find the word, you can do it before I read it or after I read it, but it's best if you let me read it through and then pause it, and then you try to read as many of the words as you possibly can. That's very important. At first, you're only going to know the words that we have been doing, but we've done, I think, 7 words so far. And by the end of today, it'll be 11 words. Might be 12. So you'll know those words. And those words are words that are in English every day. Very simple words. And then finally, you're going to take the Grandpa quiz. Is here. How do you think you spell the word here? This is how. H-E-R-E. So, if you take this last E off of here, this word is her. Having this at the end makes the E sound like E instead of So E here is a long E, and her is a short E. You just have to learn these things. English is a very difficult language. You speak it very well right now, Arlo and Frank, but Frank can tell you it's difficult to master when you start to get into reading and writing it. So here, and what does here mean? Well, you know what here means. It means your present location. I'm here. I'm in Jacksonville Beach. I'm here. You're not here. Where are you? That's the next word, where. How do you think you spell where? W-H-E-R-E. So this is a pretty interesting word, because if you take away that W, you have here. You have the same word here. But this isn't where, this is where. So this is different even than, it's not the long one, the where. It's not the short vowel, were. This is, I don't even know what it's called. But for some reason, having that W on the front of that turns it into where. Where are you? And what does where mean? The location. So here was your present location. I'm here. And where is a location of something. Could be anything. Where is the Taj Mahal? It's in India. Where is Arlo? Last I heard, you were in Signal Mountain, on Signal Mountain, up on Signal Mountain. The next word is eat. That's something that we all like to do. How do you think you spell eat? This is another tricky word. E-A-T. Eat. So the E and the A together make that eat. So if you took out the A, it would say et. It's not a word as far as I know. Et is not a word, E-T. But having that E-A together makes it pronounced eat. And what does eat mean? It's another easy one, but I want you to always try to understand all the words, what they mean, because trust me, there will be harder words, and they'll be coming up pretty soon. I'm starting you pretty slow. So eat means putting things in your pie hole, in your mouth. You eat things. Hopefully not bugs and stuff like that. You don't want to eat things like Dunkin' or Rude do. You want to eat food, things that are good for you, things that are nutritious. And then the last word for today is home. Home. How do you think you spell home? Well, it's H-O-M-E. So just like here makes this a long E, home, oh, home. Having an E at the end makes this home. If it could be like you have the word of, O-F, of. It's not ove, it's of. And that's a short O. Home has a long O. And what does home mean? Where you live. So I live here. Where do you live? Well, Olive, you live at your home where you eat, and it's not here. So let's get started and read the story. This is the Golden Touch. So this is about a guy named King Midas. Silenus, the satyr, And it's going to tell us what a satyr is. And this is the satyr guy right here. Look, he's got these horns, and he's got hairy legs, but he looks like a man here. And then look, he's got hooves. So let's see what he is. Silenus, the satyr, half man, half god. Oh no, I'm sorry, not half god, half goat. There is a guy that is a satyr that's a half god, and his name is Pan. But anyway, half man, half goat was lost. To tell the truth, he had drunk too much and fallen asleep in a garden. So his companions, and companions are your friends, the people who you're with, the people who you're hanging out with. You're keeping company with them. Same root word, companion, company. Couldn't find him. They went home without him. King Midas found the satyr sleeping in the palace rose garden. You can stay here with me if you like, he said. Silenus was a great storyteller and kept Midas and his court, and the court is all the people who hang out with the king. They're all the politicians and stuff like that. Hangers on, sycophants is a word for it, but I don't want to get into that. And his court amused with his tales for 5 days. So he's telling them stories over, and it's not like, oh, he tells them one story a day. He's probably telling them stories for hours at a time. And this goes on for 5 days. Then he said, I must go back to my master. So the master, the easiest example is Duncan and Rue have a master. That's the owner. So your parents are the masters of Duncan. They're not your master because it's a different relationship. Dionysus, and he's a king, but if I recall correctly, Dionysus is the Greek name for the god Bacchus, who's the god of wine, and so everything that he's involved with, Dionysus, involves getting drunk. They had some weird gods back then. We're not going to be judging the Greeks and the Romans, but they worshipped all kinds of stuff. Dionysus will be wondering where, there's one of your words, I am. So Midas took Silenus back to the god Dionysus, who was very pleased to see him. So here he is, he's hanging out with the king. Here he is, like just representing. And then here is the two of them, the king, Midas, and Silenus, are at this, go to see the god. Now, I don't know if these gods were giant like that, but that's just the way they're representing it in these. They look like watercolor paintings. You have looked after him well, Midas, said the god. What present can I give you to say thank you? So we're assuming here that this is a God who can do supernatural things, who can do things that we would consider magic. Um, so you can ask for anything. What would you ask for? What present can I give you to say thank you? So God's saying you can have anything you want. Let's see what he picks. I would like everything I touch to turn to gold, said Midas. And if we look down here, we start to see gold stuff, all kinds of gold things. Then, in a very short time, I will be rich beyond my wildest dreams. So he asked to be able to turn things into gold. He doesn't just ask for gold. He says, I want everything I touch to turn into gold. Well, let's see how that works out for him. Dionysus granted his wish. As Midas walked home, he had great fun turning flowers and stones to gold. So he's walking along and he's reaching and picking a flower, and the flower turns to gold. He's picking up a stone, and the stone turns to gold. He's having a good old time. And everything he touched in his palace, and so the palace is where he lives. It's his castle. It's another word for the castle of the king is the palace. In his palace turned to gold. Turned to gold too. Ha ha, laughed Midas. Now I shall be the richest man in the world. Okay, I wonder if anything bad could happen. There's nothing wrong with money, but let's see how the story unfolds here. Midas was thirsty after his journey, and the journey is that he traveled. So he traveled to take the satyr back to Dionysus, and then he went home. So that's his journey. His wine cup turned to gold, but then so did his wine as soon as it touched his lips. Not one drop of liquid reached his throat. It was solid gold. So when he picks up the wine glass, it turns to gold. He's a king, so he's probably not pouring his own wine. So the servant had poured the wine in there, and he didn't touch it with his hands because it's in the glass. But as soon as he put the glass up to his lips and started to drink, it turned to gold by touching his lips. So maybe he could have said, oh, everything that I touch with my left hand turns to gold. And he couldn't eat his dinner because everything, bread, meat, olives, grapes, every morsel turned into gold the moment Midas picked it up. Now, King Midas had a little daughter, his favorite person in the whole world. It's an interesting word here. Whole, W-H. You would think that it says whole, but These are just things that happen in English, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. So when we looked at, I think, where, that's W-H-E-R-E, but this is not wool, it's whole. The whole world. She came running to greet him. Oh no, this isn't going to end well. Daddy, I'm so glad you're home, she cried. And before Midas could stop her, she rushed into his arms. And by rushing into his arms, it means that she ran there for him to hold her. Instantly, she became a gold statue of a little girl. Oh, this poor girl. Midas realized how greedy and foolish he had been. See, if she's turned to gold, everything in her is turned to gold. So she's not like a golden human being that can walk and talk. She's a statue. She's dead. So he realizes that he wanted something so bad that he lost the person that he loved the most in the whole world. Weeping, so that means he was crying. He went back to Dionysus and begged him to take the golden touch away. The god saw that King Midas had learned his lesson. He told the king to wash in a special river and promised that the gift would be washed away in the water. And here's all these pictures of this stuff happening. Here he is trying to eat, and here's like a goblet that it's all gold, and everything that's in it was gold. And here's the daughter running into his arms. It didn't matter if he put his arms around her or not. All she had to do was touch him, and she turned into this golden statue. So here he is back, little guy and a big guy. And then here he is washing in the river. To this day, the sands of that river have specks of gold in them. King Midas came home to find his little girl back to normal. I am rich indeed, said Midas as he embraced her. So this time he wanted to embrace her. Before he didn't want to because he knew she turned to gold. So that's the story of King Midas. Let's have the Grandpapa quiz. For golden touch. The first word, spelling word, is here. How do you spell here? H-E-R-E. And what does here mean? It's your present location. That's where you are. I'm here. The next one is where. We just talked about this word a couple minutes ago. How do you spell where? W-H-E-R-E. Where. And what does that mean? The location. So it's where something is. It's, you know, where am I? Jacksonville Beach. The next word is eat. How do you spell eat? Losing my voice. E-A-T. Eat. And what does that mean? It means shoving something in your pie hole. Shoving something in your mouth. And then the last one is home. How do you spell home? H-O-M-E. Home. And what does home mean? Where you live. Next up is, what's the summary? What was the story about? What happened to King Midas? And at the end, what happened? So this is what this says. A greedy king is granted a wish by the god Dionysus, and he wishes for everything he touches to turn to gold. He can't eat or drink because things turn to gold when they touch his lips. His daughter hugged him and turned into a gold statue. He realizes his greed and asks Dionysus to reverse the golden touch, which Dionysus does. Hey, another great story, classic story from the Greeks. Let's see where this book leads to next in our reading and spelling adventure. Peace out. Oh, there they go. Till next time.